Welcome, you're watching Vox News, your daily news updates with Rita Kamkumo. Our headlines today: President Cyril Ramaphosa urges the United Nations General Assembly to increase the representation of African countries on the Security Council. Hundreds of people march in Cameroon calling for an end to the conflict in the Anglophone regions and President Paul Biya's departure. Ivory Coast presidential candidate Pascal Affinguessan joins calls for civil disobedience in response to Alassane Ouattara's third-term bid. Our top story today: South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on Tuesday urged the United Nations General Assembly to include more African countries on the Security Council. The African Union chairperson said that it is only through a reformed and inclusive United Nations Security Council that its members will be able to collectively resolve some of the world's most protracted conflicts. President Ramaphosa said the matter should be taken with urgency at the intergovernmental negotiations. So far, the United States, Britain, France, Russia and China are the only permanent members of the Security Council. South Africa is currently serving as one of the 10 non-permanent members of the Council, elected on a rotational basis. In Cameroon, hundreds of people demonstrated on Tuesday in the economic capital, Douala, after several political parties, including the MRC party, led by opposition leader Maurice Kamto, called for peaceful marches. The marchers were calling for an end to bloodshed in the country's Anglophone regions and the resignation of President Paul Biya, who has been in office for nearly 4 decades. The police responded by using tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd.
This is abuse. On the contrary, the state should supervise this march because it's said to be peaceful. We don't understand what's happening. What kind of country are we living in? Young people are dying. Young people are suffering. We are fed up. It's a cry of despair, and it's time for things to stop.
We've seen police pickups ambushing people. I saw a police unit pass by among others, and there are gendarmerie vehicles behind the trade station where they pick up people. They infiltrate the crowd, pick protesters up, sneakily put them in a car, and then they bring them to jail.
The opposition said on Tuesday that one protester was killed during the protest and accused security forces of laying siege to Kamto's home. Government spokesman René Emmanuel Sadi has dismissed the protest as just another attempt to distrust the public authorities and breach of public order. He called on the public to stay away from what he called senseless calls for uprising. Political tensions continue to escalate in Ivory Coast, less than 5 weeks ahead of the 2020 presidential election. Ivorian Popular Front leader and presidential candidate Pascal Affinguessan on Tuesday joined calls from other opposition leaders for civil disobedience in response to Alassane Ouattara's bid for a third term as head of the country.
Because of the dictatorship of Alassane Ouattara, I fully and completely support the call for disobedience advocated by President Henri Konan-Bédié and all the political and social forces in Ivory Coast. On behalf of the FPI, I appeal to all activists and supporters, all Ivorians who love peace, freedom and democracy, to be ready to translate into concrete steps the calls to action that will be issued in the coming days. It is our combined actions as an opposition that will strengthen our approach. Discussion cannot be a solution in itself. It is the prerequisite for action. If we all sit down together to discuss and act, then we will achieve things. Things have changed. Alassane Ouattara is now a solitary man, abandoned by his former international allies who have realized he is an imposter. He went to Paris to seek support, which was refused. He is considered by his African peers as a disparaged leader.
Just like Bédié, Afinkesan did not elaborate on the form the civil disobedience should take. Both opponents are two of only three to challenge Ouattara in the looming election. Gambia's lawmakers on Tuesday rejected a draft constitution aimed at improving the country's governance system by establishing a two-term presidential limit, among other provisions. 31 assembly members voted in favor of the bill, while 23 voted against it, which means the bill did not reach the two-thirds majority to proceed to the next stage. The draft constitution, which took about 2.5 years, with nationwide consultations, was due to be put to a referendum had it cleared the assembly. However, legislators failed to reach an agreement after fierce debate over a clause that would prevent interim President Adama Barrow, in office since 2017, from seeking a further 2 terms in office. A day after the announcement of Mali's new transition president and vice president, the head of the military junta urged the economic community of West African states to lift the sanctions it has placed on the country following last month's military coup.
We have accepted the principles of Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, namely the appointment of a civilian president and the appointment of a prime minister. I think that in the coming days, ECOWAS must remove its sanctions for the happiness of the Malian people.
Tuesday's move came after West African leaders said that they would not lift economic sanctions on Mali unless it put in place a civilian-led transition government. Meanwhile, Colonel Assimi Goïta on Tuesday urged support for French and United Nations troops in the conflict-ridden Sahel state.
The message to the Malian people is a message of sacred union around Mali, and I ask them to support the armed forces of defense and security. This is the opportunity for me today to congratulate and encourage them for all their efforts to bring security and peace to Mali. And I also urge the Malian people to support our partner forces such as the Burkina Force, MINUSMA and the Takuba Force.
Mali has struggled to contain a jihadist insurgency that first broke out in the north region in 2012. The jihadist conflict has since spread to the center of the country and neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger.
In 2020, again, insecurity prevails. On a large part of the national territory, the security forces fight bravely, but lopsided wars, as we all know, are difficult to win and are won with time, determination and resilience. I want to make you the promise that we will win the war that has been imposed on us.
The urging came as a protest against the presence of foreign troops was expected in the capital Bamako on Tuesday. In Zambia, the government on Tuesday vowed that the country's electricity crisis will be resolved by the end of March next year. The energy minister, Matthew Nkuwa, said that the construction of a 750 megawatts power plant called the Kafue Gorge Lower is expected to cushion the power shortage, which currently stands at 810 megawatts. The power utility has partnered with Power China to resolve the power deficit. According to the minister, 150 megawatts will be commissioned by the end of next month and another 150 in December this year. Zambia plans to have about 600 megawatts of renewable energy plants in various parts of its territory. In neighboring Zimbabwe, a court on Tuesday freed on bail opposition lawmaker Job Sikala, who was arrested last month for promoting anti-government protests that had been planned for the 31st of July. The vice chairman of the Movement for Democratic Change Alliance stands accused of posting videos on social media inciting the public to commit violence and protest against Emmerson Mnangagwa's government. He was released on a 50,000 Zimbabwe dollar bail and was ordered by the court to stop broadcasting content online or in WhatsApp groups with the intention to commit public violence. International flights resumed on Tuesday in Angola after 6 months of suspension due to the coronavirus pandemic as part of the lifting of travel restrictions.
Hoje foi dia muito contente para nós, TAG.
Today is a very good day. We at TAG are happy to be back with international flights after going almost 6 months without any flight except strictly humanitarian and cargo flights. This resumption has been interesting. In that plane which had just left, we had 129 passengers on board bound for Lisbon, with everything well arranged. The passengers came with the recommended masks, and each passenger has at least 3 masks and a pair of gloves to ensure good trip without forgetting about the COVID-19 test as required by the presidential decree. Yes, we believe we will have at least 3 flights a week, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and an increase in passengers. We also believe that passenger numbers will increase with the reopening of universities, schools and borders to foreign workers. We believe that in the next 1-2 months we will return to normal rhythm with commercial flights.
I'd been asking TAAG to confirm our 3 tickets since June 20 for my 2 children and I. Thanks be to God we were able to do it, and here we are for the trip.
Passengers must be able to present a negative coronavirus test result conducted within 72 hours before their trip. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Vox News.